Dear Diary, today was a pretty good day for the most part. I got up early, had a good breakfast, and set out bright and early and got my day rolling. Dear Diary, tonight is a real drag. Looks like Netflix was the ruler of the night. I'm starting to get into Orange is the New Black more than I thought I would. Maybe I'll binge on something less serious, maybe Arrow or The Flash. Yay! Geek life. Dear Diary, so you know the guy I told you about a few days ago? I saw him again, this time at Taco Bell. And again, I said nothing.
So fucking stupid. Why am I so stupid?
He's the one, and one day he will be mine. You'll see. Dear Diary, I did it. I finally got up the nerve to talk to him. We're gonna go to dinner next week. Cue the frazzled nerves. You think he's ready to be mine? Dear Diary, the date went just as I hoped. He was the perfect date, just like I knew he would be. Time to get to work. I will not fuck this one up. I promise. Dear Diary, okay. It's been almost 2 weeks and things couldn't be better. I'm wondering if I should take this to the next level. Do you think it's too soon? No, you're right. Fingers crossed. Dear Diary, it worked. He's so great. I can't believe it. And now I have him where I want him. I tied him up good, just like you said to.
No, of course I gagged him. It's not like I haven't done this before.
He's ready to go. Dear Diary, looking at him all bound and gagged, it gives me goosebumps. First things first, like I gotta make sure he can't be identified. Yes, I know. Shave his head, pull his teeth. So no identification, DNA. And I'm gonna take my time with him, going real slow, yanking those teeth out one by one. Okay, let's do this. Dear Diary, you would have been so proud of me. I remembered to use the hydrochloric acid to remove those pesky fingerprints. We wouldn't want a repeat of last time, would we? I know. I remember.
Like you said, so quit nagging me.
Just like my father used to say, work smarter, not harder, honey. Dear Diary, today was rough. Had to remove his tongue, but before I could clasp it with the pliers, he was begging and screaming for his life. I was never one for the cliches, but they always ask why. Well, why do you fucking think? It's because I love inflicting pain. I'm not doing it for revenge, for being dumped, or punishing men for any reason. I just love it. Plain and simple. I need to get some rest. Got a big day planned for him tomorrow. Dear Diary, today will be so much fun. I have to pull each fingernail out, one by one. He'll be gagged, so he won't be able to scream when I pull each nail out. Oh, it's gonna be fun. Torture is all about timing, I say. Dear Diary, I decided to let him rest for the weekend. And today is going to be the first attempt at serious bodily harm. And here it goes nothing. I'll go for the left foot first. Yeah. With the garrote, just like you said to. Dear Diary, well, the right foot went bye-bye yesterday. Thankfully, my nurse's training paid off, otherwise he would have bled out. Oh, yeah, where would the fun in that be? What do I do next? I guess I'll sleep on it. Dear Diary, wow, I had a great sleep. And I decided that his hands will be next to go. But different this time, though. I'm going to take both of them off in one session. Easy peasy. Dear Diary, well, today is genitalia day. Did I tell you I made this steel rod that I threaded with razor blades, so when I insert it into his urethra, I can twist it until it pops like a wine cork. I read somewhere that they castrate bulls by wrapping a huge rubber band around the nuts until they fall off due to lack of blood. That must be excruciating. Well, it's worth a shot. Dear Diary, what to do today? Well, I ruled out eyes and ears. If I remove those, how can he see and hear all my arduous work? Think. And this is no time to be selfish. Because I gotta let him enjoy it as well. Dear Diary, I had to let him rest up, but today is the day back to work. Today is a tricky job. I have a box cutter I'm going to use to remove some of his arm skin to make sheets out of. I think it's a masterpiece in the making. Dear Diary, I'm sad today, Diary. Nearing the end of our little playtime, so it's time. It's time for him to die. I think I want this to be memorable. Oh, I know. I'll pull a Braveheart scene and disembowel him. Freedom. Dear Diary. Okay, now he's starting to stink. So, time to dump the poor old boy.
Yes, I know what to do. I've done this before, Diary.
Dear Diary. Tonight's a drag. Looks like Netflix will be the ruler of the night. Hey, Diary. There's a couple that moved in down the street. I know. I'll have more to write about soon.
I'm gonna try a new way to record my latest session. Instead of doing a bunch of entries, I'm gonna just record my voice. I figure this way, I can make sure nothing gets misunderstood. Let me make some things clear again. I had a normal, loving childhood. I was not abused physically or sexually. I was not spoiled, nor did I go without things I needed to get by. I had 2 loving parents that supported me in anything I wanted to do. I got through high school with good, but not perfect grades. Enough to allow me to study nursing in college. I was never into drugs or booze or sex, don't get me wrong. I had sex when I was dating somebody. But I wasn't a slut, or free with my body or my heart. I was just the typical all-American girl next door. I just take pleasure and joy in hurting people. I know some people would see this as a mental issue. However, I'm not crazy. I'm just fascinated with inflicting pain on others, testing others' limits to see how much they can take before they break. I already told you about my last, I don't want to use the word experiment, so let's just say research. But he's dead and he's buried now. I'm on to bigger and better things. My newest research is a whole family. Mom, dad, and an 8-year-old boy. This should promise to be my biggest and hopefully best session yet. So, let's get down to the good stuff, shall we? It took some work to charm my way into the lives of this family. I used the standard, I'm Summer, I'm doing babysitting to help pay for college bit. I also peppered the story with the half-lie that my parents died in a car crash. I just left out the part that I was the driver. Oops, slipped my mind. Oh well. Using the pity that my sorta lie got me was the best tool to get close to him. Soon, my greatest session would begin, and I would see how this worked with a family, how much they could take. See if they were really loving of one another, or see if the shit started to hit the fan. If they would let the mask slip and become selfish. Let me clear something up. I made sure that the son was not around. I'm not without a heart or a soul. I never hurt a child or an animal, for the record. When the day had finally arrived, I lured the husband into the basement with the story of, I have these bags of dog food that are very heavy. Can you please help me? And it worked. People can be so trusting, it's almost sad how easy it can be to trick someone. After my normal routine of beating him over the head, I chained him up and waited for the wife to come by to see what was taking so long. And then I beat her over the head and chained her up facing across from him. I had to make sure they both had a good view of what I had in store. It took forever to wake them up. He woke up first, and then either his yelling woke her or she came to, but it doesn't really matter. It was time to get the ball rolling. The thing I will never understand is why they always start out with anger, followed by begging, sort of like the stages of dealing with death. I had to chuckle at how ironic it was. But then back to the matter at hand, once I explained to them that I didn't want money or anything like that, I had to explain just why I was doing this. And the reason why was the same as before, and if you're following my progress, then you know why. There's no reason other than the sheer joy I get from hurting others. So I suppose in hindsight, it does make me seem a tad crazy. Maybe even insane to someone looking at it from an outside perspective. But it's time to get to the good stuff, yeah. So I stripped him down to nothing, and then her, making a note that I have way better tits than she does. Just something I noticed. He was pretty well hung, though, so this was going to be fun. I figured first, I'd fuck with her mind a little bit. See how she liked it when, with my knife to his neck, I stroked his dick until it got hard. I give him credit, though. He did well under pressure. And then I started to give him a blowjob to the soundtrack of her sobs, much better than any cheesy love song, I think. He came after maybe 10 minutes into a red plastic cup, and her sobs were shaking her whole body at this point. It was awesome. Then I tested his resolve as I started to finger her dry vagina. But to my shock, it got wet real quick. I gave them some time alone to rest and to also let some fear about what was next sink in. I love when they try to figure out what I'm gonna do, only to have them discover the true plans that I have are far worse than anything they could think of. I started on him first, making small cuts with my razor blade all over his body, then giving him a nice wash of some ready-made salt water I had set aside before they got there. And of course, he screamed and cried, "Please stop. If you let us go, we won't tell anyone or call the cops." Yeah, right. I'm not stupid and I wasn't born yesterday. So I let his body bask in the pain of the cuts and the salt water, and I turned to her. And I traced my knife slowly down her cheek, down her chest, all the way down to her vagina. And I cut the top vagina lip off, just a small part, and watched her face contort in that oh-so-pleasing wrinkle. I turned and looked at him to soak in his reaction. And the asshole had passed out. But always come prepared. I grabbed some smelling salts, woke him right back up. I'm not one to be selfish. We all need to enjoy this time, not just me. Once he was awake, I did my normal removal of the fingertips on both of them with my acid. I decided to not shave them bald, though. Artistic license, you could say. and then it was time to get serious. I used my razor to remove the skin from each of his fingers, and once both hands were done, almost down to the bone, I dressed the wounds and stopped the bleeding. And then it was her turn again for some fun. I thought about what to do, and then it hit me. Her nipples had to go. Cutting them off was so much easier than stopping the bleeding, but after a bit I got that to stop too. I was worried for a while that she was going to die, before the real fun started. Now let them rest for the night. I'll be back bright and early, you guys. Good night. And then the next morning, things got more serious. I moved them right next to each other, mostly because it made working on them in turns slightly less work for me, allowing me more time to enjoy the moments. I removed his right foot at the ankle and tossed them into the giant barrel I'd set aside in the corner of the room, followed by hers. And I tried something new, seeing as, this was my first woman. I pushed a few tacks into her vagina, nailing it as flat to the table as best I could, but it ripped a little bit. What can you do, I skinned his right arm, and I remember I squealed with glee because the skin came off in big sheets. It was wonderful, and then she got the same skinning treatment, and then I waited a while and went upstairs and made myself a light lunch. When I came back, I got right back to work. It was time for deeper cuts and maybe some organ removal. Thankfully, that went smoothly. I was worried about bleeding out, but again, I'm trained, and that paid off. I sliced them open and took out what I could, placed them in the barrel. But sadly, once I finished that, it was time to wrap it all up. I made sure to thank them with a demure kiss on the cheek, placed the barrel under him, sliced his neck, and finally let him bleed out. Holding his head so I could enjoy seeing his blue eyes fade to gray, and then I slit her neck as well and saw the green in her eyes go out. It was better than I thought it would be. And then I bagged them both up and headed out to my secret spot to bury the bodies. On my way out of the driveway, I saw the son, and he stopped me and he asked, "Have you seen my parents, Summer?" "No, kiddo," I said. I'm sorry, but I have not." And then I drove down the road.